Hey, good morning. Prophet Frederick Delaney here, speaking to you from sunny South Florida. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Rolling stone gathers no moss, but the tree in the middle of the garden causes death. So reread Psalm 23 over and over, Psalm 23, and reread Psalm 124, 124. Psalm 124 adds up to the 2024. So if you read these Psalms, Lord was saying that the Psalms line up for these latter years. Like if you read the 20, what is it, the 117, that's when Trump came into office. And there's only a couple verses, so it looks like Jesus is here because the blessings have come. But then it's just short-lived. Peace, peace. And the devil says, no peace. But Jesus is the Prince of Peace. So what does that mean? That means our only peace comes from him, not from this world. So the devil has you exactly where he wants you if you're not of Jesus. He has you in fear, and he rolled out the massive spirits of fear, which are the legion, to reinstall the legion, to have a revival of the legion, religion. And you got Christians praying for revival, which it's not about revival. Revival is short-lived. It's like Walmart, Home Depot come to town, they kill your mom and pop grocery, they kill your mom and pop hardware, they kill your mom and pop paint stores, and they implode your community. They implode your community. So, in this time, the implosion of communities, to reinstall revival, and when they have a revival in town, and all the little churches will have the people go and they'll drop all their money in the offering plate, and then that little church will die. And that little church, a lot of times they're not religion, or not of the legion, they're of community, crossroads community churches in the communities. They're about community. They try to do everything for the community, give away food, clothing, and be the storehouse that the Malachi talked about. Bring all the blessings in the storehouse so there'll be meat in your house, my house, and every house on the block. That's why they bring the blessings in, to give them away, not to float the boat of the pastor. So the bastards are all getting people to pray for revival of religion. Jonathan Cahn wrote a book, The Return of the Gods. It's the return of the Nephilim in the sense of, because they do not longer exist here, but their children do. So in order to get back a stronghold of the legion, the religion, if you want to know about that, read about Jesus and the Gadarenes, and he threw the swine into the pigs drowning in the lake. So the devil orchestrates war all over the world from South Florida. Spiritually, that's where he set up shop. Spiritually, that's where his dictatorship is, in South Florida. It's Tampa on down. Tampa on down. So that's why the 9/11 happened. They flew in here, had all these Air Force One planes, so you don't know which one the president is on. The president is on, so they have several Air Force Ones. And you don't know which one he's flying in on. He could be flying in on a little baby Learjet or two-prop plane, and the rest is a smoke screen. Then as things transpired, where was the president when 9/11 happened? It happened here. Spiritually, it was dictated here, Manatee and Sarasota County. Then out of can't say that, out of Tampa. So all war spiritually has been dictated out of South Florida because the enemy took Florida last. So it's easier to find the clues, Inspector Clouseau, the to find out how the devil works because he took Florida last. So that's why the revival of the community, the restoration, not the religious revival, has always been prophesied it would start in South Florida, or also the South Gulf, the South Gulf of Mexico, the Southwest Gulf of Mexico. But when these people started prophesying, the Lord had them confused. So if you go back in time and look at the prophecies on southern Gulf Coast, they were all praying for revival on the northern Gulf Coast, which was Pensacola and all that area through there, Dothan, Alabama. But that's where that's where many of the Legion reside. They go up and down through the Gulf of Mexico, all the way around through all the Gulf states. And the Gulf water that comes out of the Gulf of Mexico goes all the way to northern Europe. What does that mean? It means the demons go to the waterways, just as the swine was thrown in the lake, and go up and down the coastlines. And the water lines, the lakes, the creeks. That's why all those horror movies about, what's in the lake. And then you have South Carolina, where I have the outpost, spiritual outpost, to where they drowned entire towns and made lakes, like Lake Lure, Lure, and different lakes. If you look at them, they drowned a town, the church, the cemetery, and everything is underwater. That's why those lakes have so much of the legion attached to them, the legion of demons. And a lot of people don't want to know because they want to sleep peacefully. And sorry, we had a demon. We had a furry black demon over there. So, but to straighten those demons out. So, and then the prophets and apostles were kicked out of this area, the true ones, in order for the fake ones to float the boat to fill their money bags. And the embezzlement of the bigger ministries down here, the embezzlement to cause them to be very, very wealthy, to cause them to buy yachts and houses on Siesta Key and Longboat Key, Davis Island. And that's where the devils, the witches and warlocks have set up shop. And the kingdoms, the money, the love of money, the love of Satan, to do the bidding of Satan. Satan still has the money. And people are still giving their money to Satan because they're giving it to the legion because they fear the legion. So reread Psalm 23 and read Psalm 124. 124 is the psalm, the song, the P. You take the P off the song, means prayer songs, prayer psalms. That's why David wrote them, because they're prayer psalms. They're from the heart of David. He cried out to God, and God would answer him. So he's whining one day, and he's praising God the next in the song. So we in this time have to understand what's going on here. Psalm 124 is talking about this year. That's the prayer song, the prayer for this year. Psalm 23 is what we're going through, the valley of the shadow of death, where the demons are rising up because of your fears. They respect your fears respect them, your fears cause them to be reinstalled as the Egyptian gods, reinstalled in the religious churches. Because when Jesus was crucified dead, the curtain was torn in the Holy of Holies. So the curtain was torn in the Holy of Holies. So now we have relationship from God to man, and no longer needed a priest, no longer needed a religious priest. And then they reinstalled the religion. They took Paul's teaching and corrupted them, so that the pastor could be the head of the church. But if you reread it, it says the apostles and prophets are the heads. They establish a church, or the prophets and apostles. And they put it in there to where, if you read about the apostles, you reread about the apostles, they were hardheads till the end, where eventually their shadow, Peter's shadow, and them healed the sick. Not really their shadow, it was their light within them. So if you reread the books of the apostles and prophets and apostles, you realize that John the Revelator was closest to Jesus because he was a prophet apostle. He had a prophet mantle, and he was also given a disciple mantle, an apostle mantle. So then the apostle wants to be the head of the church, and he wants to rule and reign. And then it got fought for, and then the pastor wanted to be the big Lucifer, the big bastard of the church. So we have the ministry out East County, and the guy is supposed to be an evangelist, and he went to business school to start a business, so then he renamed the church. And it was supposed to be a retreat center. He named it the Family Church, but there's no family there. We tried to go there, and there was so much disconnection, and nobody, the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, and we found women praying in a tongue, and didn't make sense until a man came and said she was praying in Latin curses over the land in East County on the devil's elbow, And the witches and warlocks have set up shop in South Tampa. If you want to know somewhat lines in the sands, it's from Ybor City, which is spelled with a Y. Remember the Y again? The Y. Jesus, the last sacrifice. The why, Lord, why, when, where, why. Ybor City on down, all the way down to the Keys, to cause the most massive amount of debauchery, the massive amount of evil, to dictate satanic war all over the world. And we're in the third day, we're in the third world war, but it's a spiritual war. It's not a physical war, it's not a political war, it's not a biblical war, it's a holy war. Because we have entered the third day, we have this revelation of uncovering. We uncovered the gates of hell. They were no longer put up a veil to cloud your spiritual mind, to cloud your understanding. So now we have targeted the enemy. He has a target on his head, the bullseye, the red blood, the target. But a lot of people are too scared because they respect demons. So I tried to explain to people about what's going on in the spirit, and they run and hide and freak out and get blacklisted for unveiling the gates of hell. Moses should not have wore a veil. They would have been convicted and no longer had to worship the snake on a stick if Moses would not have wore a veil. And it says, upon this little rock, this little pebble, Peter, I will build my church, because Peter could hear the Father's voice. And he knew things, but then he was also listening to the devil and sold Jesus out in a sense of denial, denied him. So America will rise again once people take their respect away from Satan and put their respect, their first love, back into Jesus. Reread Psalm 23. Reread Psalm 124. See what's going on this time. You can go back into, I forget how many Psalms go back in the 2000s, the third day. I think we started reading them, 2004, which is 104. And you read them, and then 2017, sounds like Jesus here, there's only a couple verses. That means we're winning the war. But then the devil tries to back shift you. We're pedal to the metal, don't miss a gear, and then he's grinding the clutch. Clutching your mind and your spirit, man. How? Fear. False evidence appearing real. Fear. So I can say I'm in sunny South Florida. It's a beautiful day. Why? Because the SON is within us. We're not worried about the SUN because the SON is within us, His Spirit, Jesus in us, God's Spirit in us, the body of Christ. It says the sun, the moon, the stars will no longer give their light. Well, that's the negative side. The negative SONs, the negative women, that's supposed to reflect the light of the SON. And the stars are the children, because it talks about it in Abraham, talks about it in Genesis, explains the sun, the moon, and stars. And that's how they twisted it and caused people to be sun worshipers, SUN worshipers, instead of relationship SON worshipers. They're for signs and seasons. The SUN is a sign of SON. The moon is a sign of the woman, the second heaven, or the woman, the one that gives birth to God's children. And the stars are the ones that are supposed to shine and sparkle from the light of the SON, from the Father through the SON, to cause us to be caused us to become the sons and daughters of the Most High, 2 Chronicles 7:14, which causes us to have humility, to enter the throne room, to get the revelation, to get the maps, to get the spiritual maps that shows the tapestry of times, and times. That's why it wasn't said 3.5 years exactly. It was times, and time. Half times. To understand times and seasons, how to bear fruit in the season of darkness. Now there's much more light on the earth than ever before, the SON within people, because they have cemented their life to Jesus. But you still have the liars that are out there on the stages of life, out there on YouTube, and they can barely grasp a straw, the right straw, and they're casting lots to try to figure out what God is doing in this time. And the reason why is because they don't really want to know, because they're scared. Because if we told them that about the gates of hell and explained to them where the demons come and go, that would be the movie they're watching. That would be the move of their eyes. Movie, M-O-V-I-E, move, M-O-V-E -E-Y-E-S. The move eyes, the pictures, the visions of the move eyes coming from the tell-a-vision people, which are the prophets, would scare them so that they would even give more respect to the devils and allow the devil to win, because they were not like Elijah, we're not like Elisha, we're not like Joshua and Caleb. We can take those giants. The giants were the Nephilim and the offspring of the Nephilim. But they're blaspheming God. So as David took the small, smooth stone, the little pebble, upon this rock, Peter, upon these rocks I'll build my church, ones that can hear the Father's voice, the ones that are the prophet apostles. So the apostles of the old church age have to shift to be prophet apostles. Otherwise, they'll be building a kingdom without God, and not one stone will be put on another. The stones are the disciples. The stones are the congregation. Improperly built, they will be thrown down by the devil in fear, to be stomped and snuffed, kicked in the head, and canceled out. C-A-N-C-E-L-L-E-D, canceled, which is another word for cancer, C-A-N-C-E-R, cancer. Massive cancer is coming for the ones that keep the commands but do not have relationship, because they're improperly built, because Jesus does not dwell in a temple made with man's hands. Jesus' spirit dwells in temples of flesh that have cemented the relationship to become the kingdom builders, The kingdom come, that will be done in earth as in heaven. So, see the American flag. The horse nation will rise again. But not until you conquer your fears. Otherwise, you're floating the boat. You're causing the Egyptian gods to rise into the people in fear. Satan has you where he wants you in a choke chain into your fears. You'll be dying of fright. You'll be dying of cancer. You'll be dying canceled. So in this time, eyes wide open, the Lord had to take me in the gates of hell, which can look like a parking lot, look like a building, look like a motel, a hotel, can look like a small apartment complex. And then he would take me into the virtual realm of hell, gate of hell, which was caused by the respect of the people to cause Satan to become in high places. He caused it to become a gate of hell through the blood sacrifice of bloodletting to steal, kill, and destroy, to rob, rape, and pillage God's innocent children. So maybe you watched the movie, The Sound of Freedom. The Sound of Freedom is all done through revelation, undercover revelation, just as Timothy, they had the necklace, was given to the boy, the rescuer of children, the Saint Timothy. So God is painting a picture, giving revelation, spiritual revelation about why everything is going on in the natural. So the tapestry of time, the tapestry of light, like a woven diamond, like woven pictures in carpets, for us to walk on the spiritual ground, to do away with the enemy through getting rid of your fears and conquering them through faith, because without faith it is impossible to please God. So when we came out and started revealing to action in the late 90s here to explain the gates of hell, we got blacklisted because these people are not of God. We prayed for people that got healed. Man got raised from the dead. And the bastards, which we call pastors, which are PAST-OARS, the past oars. They cannot row the boat anymore. They're oars. They could row the boat during peacetime, but now we're in a spiritual war. They'll be chucked overboard because they just keep you in bondage to religion, to the legion, and keep going through the dusty old maps of the past. And the New Testament's still old past. You will never walk into the future. You'll never walk into the third day unless you cemented your relationship. God is rewriting your book. You are a book in this time. God is rewriting your book. His story, HIS-STORY, God's rewriting your story. But if you don't want him to, you can die like a man. You can die like Lucifer. Psalm 82. You can live and die and just live as an animal and die like a mammal and never have everlasting life if you keep respecting the devils in your fear. So do you want to know? Do you want to know? I don't know. I mean, I think about 4 or 5 people out here want to know. The rest of you hiding under your bed sucking your thumb because you fear the devils. If a demon came up, you'd freak out and give him your family. It's like Lot, take my girls, they're virgins. He goes sell his family out. Sell his family out. How long will we sell God's children? In the movie, it says God's children are not for sale. How long are you going to sell the family out? How long are we not going to stand up? How long are we going to hide under the bed? How long are we going to hide from the boogeyman? I mean, once understood, once uncovered, once you have a relationship, Satan has no rights to you. Satan only had rights to Job is because he was hiding the sins of his children. He was covering the sins of his children with the blood of doves. Threw some extra doves on the fire because what he feared most was his children's sin would come back to haunt him. So he was throwing extra doves in the fire instead of saying, oh God, my children are sinning. What should I do? Come clean before God. Quit sowing fig leaves. Quit throwing doves in the fire. Quit blaspheming in this time. In this time, quit blaspheming Jesus, the Spirit of God. And they're going back to sacrificing red heifers in the month of April, foundational month. So you got this solar eclipse. So the greatest darkness is coming on the world in fear and respect for Satan. But in that time, the sun itself is massive coronal mass ejections, massive amount of solar flares lining up the sun, the moon, the stars to transform us into the likeness of Jesus. Some like unto Jesus, to be like unto angels that will not die anymore because death is swallowed up. Reread the book in the Revelation. Death is swallowed up. Death is swallowed up. Death is swallowed up. Because now we respect God and the Son of God, which went before us to pave the way to enter the kingdom of God, the marriage supper lamb, chapter 7, verse 14, because now we have the humble humility and the respect. Instead of respecting demons, I saw an inscription on an altar to an unknown God. So you are a respecter of demons, Paul said, instead of a respecter of God. And anybody who's still listening, more likely you're the leadership, more likely you cemented your relationship, and more likely you're supposed to teach in this time to help them to get rid of their fears, false evidence, fear, and real. To take them out of Satan's fold and bring them over to Jesus' kingdom. In the name of the Father, thy kingdom come, his will be done. In this time, the answer to the Lord's Prayer. So we shall see. We shall see. It's dark down here for those whom are perishing, because they have not the light of the SON. They do not have the light of the SON.